You know, I just think the people of India are the most kind people in the world. They would really give you the coat off their back, all of, like, everyone, at, at least people in the South. And they're always willing to share what little they had already. I knew Indian families that were living on 1,000 rupees a month, a family of like 5. And as missionaries, we were given like 7,500 rupees a month to live on each. And I mean, people are in really humble circumstances there, but they're just happy. They're generally loving. My companions were just, you know, they're good guys. They're willing to serve, and they worked hard. And I only had one companion that we had any kind of problems, and you know, of all my companions, and I had like 23 companions, I think, because I was emergency transferred a couple times because of getting arrested or whatever. And so those were, I mean, they were all just good guys, and there was only one that there was any sort of problems with at all, and it wasn't really that big of a deal at the end of the day. They're incredibly faithful. They love God. So one story, there's a guy I wanted to buy. There's a guy we'd go get coconuts from. He just had a little cart. He had coconuts on it. And guys in India with coconut carts, they have big curved knives, and they use those to cut the top of the coconut, and then they put a straw in there, and you can buy it. It costs a rupee, which is 2 cents. And here's a guy, and so they sell them for a rupee, and they, you know, I'm sure they sell a fair amount of them. But this guy had his coconut knife, and I think these knives, if you go get them new, they cost like 200, 300 rupees. I mean, which is what, like $6? But if people are living on 1,000 rupees a month, that's a pretty good chunk. And I wanted, and I don't mean any disrespect by this story, but I think it's a good little story. This guy was a Hindu man, and he sold coconuts. And I wanted to buy his coconut knife because it had been used quite a bit, and I wanted to buy one that had seen some action. And so I offered him 500 rupees, which was more than they cost. He could go buy himself a brand new one that wasn't as beat up as this one and have a brand new one. And at first he didn't want to sell it to me, and he didn't speak English, but we could communicate, and I asked him why he didn't want to sell it to me, and he told me that it was his god. The coconut knife was his god. That's what he worshipped. And like, that's going back to Hindus. They love God. But that knife is what provided for him. That's what provided for his family. And so that's what he worshipped as his god. And so I doubled I told him I'd give him 1,000 rupees, and he sold it to me. But I mean, Indians, I think they just love God, and that they don't necessarily know who He is, and that they want to worship Him, they want to love Him, they want to pay respect to Him. But I just think after thousands of years of being geographically isolated, with the Himalaya mountains to the north and Mount Everest to the north, and then ocean all around, people just have a really twisted idea of who God is, and that, I think, is manifest in all these representations of God that show up in Hinduism. And so that's something, Indians love God, and that was something that we were able to come and share a message of who God is. And that's really the first thing missionaries teach in the lessons now, is that God is our loving Heavenly Father, that He's like us, that He's a perfect being, and that He wants us to become like Him. And there were a lot of people ready for that message. And when they knew who He was, they loved Him, and they didn't leave that. That's why we had such a high retention rate, because the faithfulness of the Indian people.